House Intelligence Committee now say they have a memo of their own, which they say challenges the Republican memo that criticizes the Justice Department and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, the Republican Devin Nunes of California, prepared that GOP document, wrote it. It reportedly accuses some federal officials of political bias in their investigation into Russian meddling in the 2016 presidential election and possible collusion with the Trump campaign. The memo contains classified information. Democrats say it is misleading and meant to make investigators look bad so people are less likely to believe their findings, tear down the institutions of government and the news organizations which report, so neither will be believed in the event of negative findings on the president or his administration. Some Republicans say that memo is so damning it could shut down the special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation. But not all Republicans agree. Today, for instance, the Republican Congressman Charlie Dent of Pennsylvania said his colleagues should cease and desist from some of this rhetoric.
We were mortified a couple of years ago when many on the far left were launching these attacks against police. And now here we are as a party, trying to brand ourselves as somehow suggesting that the men and women of the FBI are not as professional as they ought to be. We need to get behind law enforcement, show some respect here, and move away from these conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy theories. Other Republicans are calling for the memo to be made public, saying Americans should see it and judge for themselves. The Trump Justice Department warning lawmakers that would be extraordinarily reckless unless the department reviews the document first.
The information in the memo at this point is classified, and so that's classified for a reason. It has national security implications, and if there's evidence of wrongdoing, we want to address it immediately. So we want to see the memo while it's classified.
The number 2 Senate Republican says it's up to the House whether to release the memo, but he says people should take it seriously.
When the public begins to question the integrity of the department and the FBI and conclude in the absence of other information that somehow politics has taken over rather than the law, that's a very serious matter, and we need to get that cleared up through one means or another.
John Cornyn. The top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, Adam Schiff of California, says if Republicans do release their memo, Democrats will also call for their memo to go public. Remember, this began with Devin Nunes, the same Devin Nunes who last year made White House surveillance claims, staged a rush to the White House to purportedly share surveillance information with the administration, but actually took information from the administration and staged a report of it. At its core, it was PR, and it was bogus. Devin Nunes wrote the memo currently in question. He will not share it with investigators. The Trump Justice Department wants to see it. He won't let them. The same Trump department says it should not be made public as it would damage the nation. It's classified. It could reveal sources and methods. The Republican Trump appointee, the Assistant Attorney General, Stephen Boyd, says releasing the memo would be extremely reckless. Richard Burr, the Republican of North Carolina, chairman of the Select Committee on Intelligence, has requested a look before any possible declassification. Look denied. Many who've seen the memo say it's misleading, distracting, and lacking context. The memo itself is in the conservative discussion mix, while the special counsel investigating Russian interference in our democracy is apparently about to interview the President of the United States while seeking to determine whether he's colluded with the Russians or obstructed justice. A memo can be a weapon of partisan mass distraction, especially at a pivotal moment in American history when it behooves the man in charge for supporters to believe the institutions can't be trusted, investigators are corrupt, and the news media are liars. Context matters. Let's turn to Tom Bevan, co-founder and publisher of Real Clear Politics. Tom, it was pointed out in another network that the top 4 stories being aggregated by Real Clear Politics, not written by, but aggregated by Real Clear Politics yesterday, were all of this same ilk. What does this say about the national discussion?
Well, look, Shep, I think there's interest obviously in this memo, and certainly among Republicans, among partisans, because of the way it's been described by the people in Congress who have seen it. They have been shocked by it, and they have gone and talked about, without actually getting into the contents of it, talked about what it outlines, and that's why I think you've seen this push for it to be made public so that the public can actually see what's in this memo.
It purportedly tears down the investigators in the FBI and others. He will not show it to them, though they have asked for it, so that it can be prepared for declassification, which the president could do, but has not yet done. It gives them a weapon of mass distraction in the middle of this investigation, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, that is what critics are saying this is entirely about, trying to sort of undermine the special counsel and potentially undermine his findings. But I do think, Shep, it represents what's been going on here for months, which is Republicans do have frustrations. As a co-equal branch of government, they have oversight over the executive, of which the FBI and the DOJ are part. Chuck Grassley has just said yesterday similar things, that he felt that the FBI has been non-cooperative. They've been slow-walking, providing information and whatnot. And so that I think is part of the Republican frustration of, after a year of investigation, we still don't know the answer to, was this dossier used for the FISA request? That was the FBI used that for the FISA request. Why don't we know that information? Those are the kind of questions that even after a year we still don't have the answers to. And I think that's part of what Republicans' frustrations are with the Department of Justice, with the FBI.
There's an investigation underway, isn't there? And it isn't the idea that investigation will get the answers and then they'll put them out there?
Well, yes, Shep, but at the same time, the question is why some of this information hasn't been made public yet.
Like what?
I mean, why couldn't we have the answer to that question?
Which question?
That I just mentioned about whether the dossier was used to get the FISA request.
The dossier that was written by Fusion, that was put together by Fusion GPS, which was originally paid for by Republicans, which was taken over by the Clintons, and there is by the Clinton camp, and the dossier through which there is no suggestion so far that anything in it can be knocked down, right?
There's also no suggestion, Shep, that anything in there has been verified.
But we haven't been reporting on that dossier. You know, that wasn't the topic of discussion today. The topic of discussion was this memo, from which if there is a basis for it to be released, the Trump administration and its people could have done that. They've asked to see it. He won't even let them see it. It seems to be a classic weapon of mass distraction.
Well, Shep, that's certainly your opinion, and it's shared by others. I'm just trying to point out that part of what this memo alleges is FISA abuse on the part of the FBI and the DOJ. As far as I've read, my understanding of the memo,
you've read it.
This is part of the problem. No, I have not.
You haven't read the Nunes memo that Nunes wrote? I haven't read it either.
The one that is declassified? No. I mean, there are about 100 Republicans in the House of Representatives who have seen it and read it. And that's about, and I think there may be a couple of Democrats, but that's about it right now.
Yep, that's about it. Good to talk to you. Thanks.
All right, Shep, thanks.
Context matters. Some conservatives are calling